The warriors have died in this war. Not only the people who fought for freedom, but also the innocents, the people who were not fighting at all, who were completely separated from this war. So many of these people have died because of this war that the Russian terrorist regime has started, because of this war that the Russian terrorist regime has escalated many times before, and they will escalate it many times in the future. Sometimes we hear the apologists say that we should not provoke poor, innocent Russia because they might use nuclear weapons. Well, my friends, the question rises, why have the Russians not used nuclear weapons yet? And the answer is clear. Because of the certain and inevitable and overwhelming threat of force from the West. That is the only reason why the Russian terrorist regime has not used nuclear weapons yet. Because they are afraid of retaliation. But what would happen if we continue these appeasement tactics that the Russophiles and the apologists so much want to create? Russia will lose that fear, and they will decide to use any means necessary to win this unwinnable war for them. They are in a foreign country. The Ukrainian people are fighting for their lives, for their lands, for their future. The Russian troops, they're fighting for their leaders' ambition. And some of them are fighting for misguided, far-right ideologies of creating a state for the superior Russian race, as they say. And this is not just make-believe. This is exactly what many people in the Wagner Group believe in, what Dmitry Utkin believes in, with all these neo-Nazi tattoos all over his body. We have to remember this. We must not forget what we are dealing with. Many mistakes were made in the past. The most important of all those mistakes, the worst of them all, was to trust Russia to keep their word when there is no threat of inevitable and overwhelming violence coming for them if they don't keep that treaty. The Budapest Memorandum was the biggest nuclear demilitarization in human history. The third biggest nuclear arsenal in the world back then was held by the Ukrainians. And they have given it all up in exchange for nothing more but a peace agreement from Russia. That peace agreement was violated many times after the treaty was signed. There was another treaty, the Friendship and Trade Treaty between Ukraine and Russia. Did they keep that? No. There were two Minsk agreements signed between Ukraine and Russia because Ukraine wanted peace at any cost. Ukraine did not want its people to die. But Russia had violated both the Minsk agreements. The second one, in particular, was very interesting because the Russians have violated the next day after they signed it. As on the battlefield, they held a small advantage in a specific part of the war zone. That is what we are dealing with. Not a country that might keep their word or might not. No. A country that is 100% certain to not keep their word as long as they feel like they can get away with it. That is Russia. And that is what we are here to stop. Fighter jets for Ukraine! 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 Air defense 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 for Ukraine! Help Ukraine protect peace! 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 There's been a very interesting development a while ago in Turkey when they released a few of the Azovstal defenders, a few of the leaders that they were keeping at that time. The Russians, of course, were outraged. They said that the treaty with Turkey had been violated. They said that Turkey had no right to do so. But the treaty included the Russians to respect the grain transitions, the grain shipments from Ukraine to the rest of the world. Russia had blocked that shipment already. All of those shipments had been blocked already. As usual, Russia violated the treaty first and then blamed the other side when it did not keep it any longer. That is what Russia will always do. But of course, the absolute best example of treaties with Russia, of negotiations with Russia, can be seen in perhaps the most famous person in this war, one of the most famous people by far, Yevgeny Prigozhin, the late Yevgeny Prigozhin, who thought that he was able to make a treaty with Putin and save his skin after his little hissy fit near Moscow. Prigozhin was wrong, of course. Putin was merely waiting for a moment to betray him. Thank you very much. And that moment came when Prigozhin was defenseless. And of course, his plane was shot down from the skies. Perhaps Prigozhin was the oligarch that fell out of the highest window in Russia. Out of all of these oligarchs who have fallen prey to this mysterious disease, mysterious sickness of simply falling out of tall buildings. But we must remember that, because Prigozhin did not die for his sins. He did not die for his crimes. In fact, Putin had praised his endeavors in this war many times. All of the war crimes that Prigozhin has committed, Putin has praised them and encouraged his troops to do even more of the same. Prigozhin didn't die because of his crimes. He died because he was infringing on Putin's ambitions. Because Prigozhin was telling the truth occasionally. Because Prigozhin was revealing things that Putin would prefer to keep hidden about this war. And of course, the main thing that Prigozhin revealed was the real purpose of this war: to ransack Ukraine and to enrich the Russian elites. He said so himself, and he repeated it many times, that this war was meaningless. The only point of this war was to ransack the Ukrainian people, to destroy Ukraine, to enrich the Russian elites. Not the Russian people, mind you. The Russian people would remain in the same squalor as before, even if Russia won this war tomorrow. In fact, that would be probably worse. Let's not forget about the sacrifice of the people who are fighting for our rights, for our freedom, for our ability to have a clear sky on top of our heads. Let's not forget about the heroes of Azovstal. Let's not forget about the heroes of Ukraine. All together, we will win. 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 Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my friends. Our Iranian friends have always shown a lot of support to us, and we have always responded with reciprocity. We have always shown a lot of support to our Iranian friends. We've made many protests, many rallies alongside them. Because right now, they're fighting against their own authoritarian terrorist regime, against the Ayatollah regime. Their people are suffering because of what the Ayatollahs have done and what the Ayatollahs are doing. They're taking Iran into a dead end. They're killing people simply for refusing to wear what the regime tells them to wear and to say what the regime tells them to say. Not dissimilar from what's going on in Russia right now, where people go to jail simply for admitting that there is a war going on between Ukraine and Russia. But the Iranian people have shown their discontent. They have shown that they disagree with what their regime has been doing in the past, and they are resisting their regime any way they can.